It's the opening night and they're lighting the lights. The orchestra is tuning to make sure they sound right. It's time to start our show tonight.
Welcome to the Arts Alive Theatre programme. I'm Stephanie Greer. I am in the fantastic Everyman Theatre Bistro, and today I'm joined by the Chair of the Liverpool and Equity District General Branch, Kevin McMahon, and the fantastic actress and presenter, Sarah-Jane Honeywell. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
So Kevin, I guess the first thing that we should hear from you really is, what is Equity?
Well, Equity is the trade union for actors and creative performers. And we say actors, but of course it includes stunt artists, writers, directors, you name it. Agents. It's a real broad church, a mixed bag. And that's our membership. And what the union does itself, they represent them, they look after their interests, and they offer advice. We have separate branches for areas, this being the Liverpool and District branch, where you can come along for that advice, for information and networking, which is a big part of what we do.
Fantastic. And Sarah-Jane, you have worked extensively in the industry. What has been your kind of thought about Equity?
I've always been an Equity member. I started working in 1993. It makes me hot. And that was when you absolutely had to be an Equity member to work. And I've never let my membership lapse, really. Equity have fought legal battles for me. They've advised me. They're always on the end of the phone. I didn't realise that there was a special branch in Liverpool, and I'm very excited about that now, so that I've got someone to go, is this correct? But yeah, they're an amazing support, and I kind of, I wish that more actors would become members to give them more power, because we need that solidarity, especially in today's climate of so many TV channels and such a big variety of the type of entertainment that's out there.
Yeah. What do you think it is that puts people off, I guess, John?
Well, dare I say it, but actors are notoriously tight. So they look at the membership fee, which is not that expensive and is tax deductible, and they think, oh, I don't want to pay that. I think they don't quite think that Equity's got any power, which is not the case at all. And I think there's just not because you don't have to be an Equity member now. I think people just think, oh, I don't want to be. And I mean, I don't know if you can add to that if there's any other reasons, but they're the reasons I can think of.
Well, I think when the closed shop became illegal in 1988, I think it was, Equity up until then had been a closed shop, and to get that Equity card was something that was desperately prized. You needed it to work. You needed to work to get the card, you needed the card to get work. It was a bit of a catch-22, and so getting the card became something desperately important. Your skills were tested. You had to produce the contracts. People came to see the show you were in, to judge you. And then, at the separate branch meetings, a vote was taken on you, whether you should become a member or not.
Oh goodness, that's a bit pressure, isn't it?
It was. But then, once you got that card, you'd achieved something.
Yes.
Of course, I think it was 88, you no longer needed that card. That had a number of effects. It did cause a dip in membership because people, I mean, you can understand it. I don't need the card. Why should I? That was the attitude. But what came with it, I think, was a dip in standard, certainly in some areas. But I think we're finding the reverse now. Numbers are building up. Because Equity started in the 1930s with about 3,000 members, central London. We're now up to nearly about 40,000 membership as we stand at the moment. And its aims were to look after its members. In the 40s and 50s is where they started to bring in the accident and backstage insurance. So that's long-standing. That's always been very much a part of what Equity
And I
did.
guess that's massively important for people who are self-employed, freelance, to have that cover.
Yes.
And because there's public liability insurance, isn't there?
Well, yes, there's a £10 million public liability insurance. That's part of your membership.
Right. Now,
So
why
it's not an
exact-
extra payment.
Right, I see. And why exactly would a performer need £10 million worth of public liability insurance?
Well, I think it's up to £10 million. I don't think you always need £10 million. but I think that's a figure that they decided that hopefully will cover
never
any...
need more than that.
We'll never need more than that. They will cover any situation, we would hope. So yes. And, of course, the industry has changed also, where when you're working independently, in some occasions, they require you as an actor to come along with your own liability insurance.
Right.
We're seeing this more and more now. If you're an equity member, you have it already.
Right, I see. And I guess if you needed that and you weren't an equity member, you're then paying out for insurance on its own, and I guess you're better off really having that, because equity is so much more, I guess, than just the insurance, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I don't think any actor that wasn't with Equity would have the foresight to think, better get my public liability insurance. I just don't think they would. And there have been times when I have been Peter Pan and I've been flying across the audience and I've had to throw glitter down, and I've thought, oh, if I get someone in the eye for this, I could get sued. And then I've thought, it's all right, I've got equity.
Yes.
I'll throw as much as I want. Yeah, but there are times, and I think when I was doing Cats the Musical, one of the guys forgot to turn the drain pipe, which almost took out half the audience, and luckily no one was hurt. But had they been, maybe Cameron McIntosh at the time, who was the producer of Cats, might have said, well, look, that was your role to turn the pipe and you didn't. Yeah. It's up to you to pay those costs. So it is massively important to have public liability insurance as an actor, but unless you're a member of Equity, I don't think any would.
No.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I guess, until that happens, and then...
Yeah.
Then that's it really, isn't it, I guess?
Exactly. Yeah, so that is massively important.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, you've worked all over the country
Yes.
and beyond, I guess. What has brought you to Liverpool?
Oh, well, my fiance, which is really weird to say,
Congratulations.
thank you, he works at Hollyoaks, which is filmed at Line Pictures, which is in Liverpool. So I kind of moved up here a bit kind of under strain, really, because he was like, you need to come and live with me, and I was like, I don't want to leave London. And now since I've left London, I'm like, ooh, Liverpool's kind of nicer than London, and it's got no traffic, better bars, friendly people. So I'm
We need that
glad.
on a soundbite, I think.
I'm glad. Well, and just really great theatres, and so many theatres. The only thing I haven't found yet, and perhaps you can help me out here, is like a big kind of filmmaking culture. But I just haven't hunted them down yet, I think.
It's
Kevin?
here. It's one of the most filmed cities in after London. Yes,
See?
most films are made here. There's a list. The list is endless of the films that are made in Liverpool, and Liverpool passes for New York quite often, and many places. You probably see these films and don't realise that it's Liverpool. If you don't know Liverpool, we all know it is, because we know the places so well. But there is a huge film industry in Liverpool.
And this is why you should be a member of Equity.
And why you should come along
Network
to the
happening all the
meetings.
time.
And well, that's a good example, Sarah. You're fairly new to Liverpool.
Yes.
You didn't realise that we had this branch.
No.
If you had have done, you would have come along sooner. It's about networking. It's about meeting people. It's about finding out just the very things that you've spoken about there. That's what we do at the meetings.
When you were in London, did you go to your local branch then, Sarah? Was that something that...
Do you know, interestingly, what Kevin was saying about how you had to get your equity card way back then, when I first started working in 1993, although the clothes shop had changed slightly, musical theatre, you still had to be an equity member, or you could not work with other equity members. And I wasn't. I'd worked abroad as a dancer, and I'd won Miss Dance of Great Britain in 1992, but that didn't give me my equity card. And so I went to an open audition for Cats, got the role, was so excited, and they phoned me and said, you can't do this. You can't do it because you haven't got an equity card. So I phoned Equity in tears saying, please, 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 you know, I have worked abroad. It wasn't an equity contract, but I did do 3 months. They were great. They couldn't have been more understanding. But what they did say was, we'll give you your provisional. We'll do 3 months. We'll then come and assess you. We'll talk to the producer. And if we think that you're up to scratch, then you can have your full card and you can fulfil your contract, which was a year, ended up being 2 years contract. And what's interesting about that is when I really needed Equity, they were so there for me. They're not quite as accessible as I think probably the Liverpool branch is, because it's London and everyone's Londony and not really that friendly. However, when I've needed them in London, which was then, and then in 2001, I got a very bad injury, which was caused by the company that I was working for, and they sacked me because I couldn't work, and Equity took them to task and won. Not only did they win the rest of my contract money back, but they won me a little bit more money as well. It didn't even go to court. They were so good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so when I've needed them, they've absolutely been there.
Well, I think that is a perfect place to end on a real high there. Something fantastic that Equity did for you there. So we are going to be chatting a little bit more in part 2, so don't go away.
Each week we bring you all of the latest film news.
From interviews with filmmakers and actors, to local events, to the new cinema releases.
Join us every Tuesday evening on Bay TV Liverpool.
Welcome back to the Arts Alive Theatre programme. I'm Stephanie Greer, and I'm joined here by actress and presenter Sarah-Jane Honeywell and the chair of the Liverpool and District General Equity Branch, Kevin McMahon. Now, in part 1, you ended by telling us the fantastic story about how Equity had got you some fees that you hadn't been got, and how they kind of sorted that all out for you, and that was despite the fact that you didn't go to your local branch in London. So for that reason, why do we need a branch in Liverpool, Kevin, if it was fine for Sarah-Jane without one?
Well, Liverpool as a city has always been full of creative people, artists, musicians, actors, writers, you name it, it's full of it. So Liverpool was just crying out for a general branch, and as you know, we've only been up and running just over 2 years now, and the attendance is going up all the time, and it's shown, starting the branch has shown there was a need for the branch, and it's going from strength to strength, and that's for certain.
Brilliant. And what could someone, if they've not been to a meeting before, what could they expect?
Well, for a start, the meetings are held here in this absolutely amazing, wonderful venue, the Everyman Theatre. So for a start, we're in a beautiful place, a stunning place to meet, and what you'll expect is certainly a very friendly welcome, and you will be able to, we have open and frank discussions about all aspects of the business. You can ask any question you like, and if we don't know the answer, we'll find one out. And we have regular speakers. We've had our president, we've had our general secretary, Christian Payne, come and address us. We organise certain things. We organised a meet and read for the Everyman Playhouse, for actors to be heard by the Everyman Playhouse Theatre. Very successful. A large number, I've forgotten the numbers now, over 60 actors were seen, and some of them were cast in roles at these theatres.
Oh, I see. And who were they seen by, Kevin?
Well,
exactly was a meet and read?
Well, a meet and read that they brought in the casting agents that the Everyman Playhouse used. There was representatives from the literary department, and so they met up with people, and it was done in a very casual, relaxed way. They organised a rehearsal room together with us, the branch. We organised it with the theatre, and you went along, you read your piece in a very relaxed way, and the idea was local actors who had not been seen before, who felt that they were not getting a look in.
Yeah.
This is, as you know, this is something that our members bring to us all the time, so we arranged that, and that's exactly what happened. It was successful, and as I say, our members were cast as a result of that, which is marvellous. That's the aim of it.
Fantastic.
But we went on from there, and we got in a top London agent who came and spoke to the branch and gave some very sound advice about how you represent yourself, advice on your photographs, your CV, that sort of real practical stuff that we need to know. And as a result of that, and their visit to the branch, they took actors onto their books.
So it really is worthwhile, people coming
Yeah,
along.
it works.
to the branch.
I do know that one of those actors has been cast in Coronation Street. So, these things happen. We're not an employment agency, don't get me wrong, but the processes that we put in place, very practical exercises and advice, they have a result. Besides that, it's a social atmosphere. It's that
I was
networking.
just about to ask you, Kevin, it can't be work.
No, no. Why do we work? We work to have a social life. And of course, we've arranged trips to the theatre to support our members. We've had summer barbecues, Christmas events, things like that. Social events. And the networking is tremendous. Our membership, I think I mentioned it before, we have directors and writers and agents, and there are quite a few little homespun projects that have come out of that networking that are getting themselves off the ground at the moment. So it's all good.
Brilliant. So there you go, Sarah-Jane.
Well, it's that to me. I mean, not only does it make you feel less far away from home, because actually while I've been here, Equity feels like it's a million miles away, and now it feels closer than it ever has done, because I feel like actually here in Liverpool, because it's not such a huge city and because it's not swamped by millions of actors, it feels like you probably do a little bit more, or perhaps not do more, but just reach a bit farther than perhaps even the London branch may do, because you want to look after your community, which is fabulous. And what an amazing thing to be able to network with people in your industry, which, as we spoke about before, I haven't been able to do since I've moved here. And now I know that my union, which I'm very proud to be part of and work very hard to become part of, is going to help me.
Fantastic.
We love it.
I'm sure we've got some budding performers in our viewers. What advice would you give anyone starting out in their career?
Learn how to do your accounts and your VAT. Yeah. Aim big and expect that you're going to have to pay VAT, and learn how to do it.
Kevin?
Join Equity.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So now that it isn't a closed shop, how easy is it for people to join Equity? What do they have to do?
Well, it's a fairly simple process that they fill out the application form, contact the Manchester office. If you live locally, of course, you can contact our secretary and for some information about that. And you can contact the Manchester office, fill out your application form, and the process is, if you qualify, the process is very quick indeed, a matter of weeks. And I know that they have changed the criteria quite recently for eligibility, and I think it's easier than ever to be a member of the union. So there is really no reason why you shouldn't be.
Yeah, well, we've heard, I guess, just a handful of benefits.
And it protects your name. So when I wanted to join Equity, my legal name is Sarah-Jane Walker, but there was already a Sarah Walker who was an opera singer, so I couldn't be that, which I think is fabulous. So then I took my grandfather's name, which is Honeywell, my mother's maiden name, and just changed it to that. And now I know that name is as far as it can be. Now Equity's not. Well, now you don't have to be an absolute member of it. It kind of protects that name for you.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a scoop on you there. It's not my real name. Okay, so this might be quite a difficult one to answer just off the cuff, but if you had to choose a career highlight so far, what would it be? Kevin, to you first.
Career highlight. Maybe not highlight, but something that I always wanted to do and never thought I would. I always wanted to play Jack Worthing in The Importance of Being Earnest. But as Lady Bracknell asks the question in the play, how old are you? And the answer is clear, 29. I thought, oh, I'm never going to play that part. But when I was 40, I played the part, and I subtly changed it to 39. However, I was in good company, because apparently John Gielgud did exactly the same thing. So if it was good enough for him, I think it was good enough for me.
Well,
but I achieved that ambition, and I played that part. So from that point of view, it's something that I didn't think I would play, and I did.
Fab. And really quickly, Sarah.
It's so hard to get a job in this business that every job for me, every time I work, it's a highlight.
Fabulous answer. Brilliant. Thank you both so much for coming down, and I just wish we had a little bit more time. That was brilliant. If you wish to know more about what we've been talking about today, you can email the branch on equityliverpool@gmail.com, or if you're on social media, you can tweet them at Equity Liverpool or like their Facebook page. I'm Stephanie Greer. This is Arts Live Theatre for Bay TV. Thanks for watching.
It's the opening night and they're lighting the lights. The orchestra is tuning to make sure they sound right. It's time to start our show tonight. There's sensational scenes, the cast of your dreams, and razzle-dazzle dancing like has never been seen. It's time to start our show tonight.